Thank you. Thank you. And I'm not the only Mark Green here today. You've discovered there's two of them. One of us have hair, the other one does not. That Mark has more hair than he needs, and I don't have enough. Yeah, something. But Mark and I are good friends. We both serve here in Georgia, and I tell Mark often, I said, listen, you better behave, because if it comes out in the news that there was a minister of music in Georgia, Mark Green, that, that's going to look bad. But he asked me the same question, so that's really good. I am Mark Green. I am delighted to be here with you. We're not going to keep you long, but I want to introduce you to the Decatur Avondale Children's Choir and tell you a little bit about our story, how we got started, what some of our guiding principles are, how we sort of operate ourselves. It's very similar to what you just heard from Clark and Karen, and they did a fabulous job telling about the Arts Academy. I want you to watch a video to start with. This will introduce our choir to you, and after that we'll talk. We're not going to keep you too long though. Can y'all hear?
But still were able to have some elements that kept the choir alive and going through the pandemic. And you'll hear from some of our students as well. We hope you'll...
What is the prayer? Lord have mercy. What I need to do to
refresh it.
It is what this video is. Thank you for joining.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
The Decatur Avondale Children's Choir began in the fall of 2009.
You might want to read.
This is the internet connection.
I'm afraid it's the internet connection.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't really actually have time to download it.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Huh.
Well,
Nice picture. These are great shots.
Lord have mercy.
Doug should use those on the Polyphony website.
Yeah. All right. Well, I wanted you to see that, and it would give you a little taste of who we are and let you hear the choir as well. Maybe we'll get it going here in a minute. But let me, while it's trying to refresh itself or whatever it is doing, I told Tim Sharp that he's been an inspiration to us in more ways than one, because if Tim Sharp has trouble with technology, it makes me feel a lot better. So I really appreciate his ministry in that way. Thank you, Doug. Let me tell you about how we got started, and maybe Doug, you can help us get that together. This idea for a community children's choir, let me define what the Decatur Avondale Children's Choir is. It's a community children's choir made up of singers aged 6 to 18, first grade through 12th grade. And we emphasize that it is a community choir dedicated to the excellence in the choral arts and musicianship. And so we are trying to have a community choir that reaches out further than our local church. Kind of like what Clark and Karen were telling us. We had diminishing returns. We started out as the Avondale Children's Choir because I was serving at First Baptist Church Avondale Estates here in Atlanta. And when I started there, the children's choir was being led by a volunteer, a lay volunteer, and they had gotten to where they were doing only musicals about once a year with tracks and all of that. The youth choir was all but non-existent. But because I was a part of a group called Jubilate, and we've got some Jubilate directors here today. James Bennett is here, Robert Gammon is here. And a lot of you know Dr. Stanley Roberts. He's the one that sort of helped get Jubilate started. Because of Jubilate, I was able to get our youth involved and very excited, there's James, very excited about being a part of making beautiful music. Here's the thing. Boys and girls and our youth, they do have radar. They can tell when something's quality and when something's not. They can tell when something's real and when something's not. They can tell when something's artistic and something's not. Jubilate was very artistic. It was very real. It was high quality music done very, very, very well. And so our youth really perked up. Even though we only had about 8 or 10 kids going to Jubilate, they were getting a very enriching experience. And so our that idea sort of began to work in my brain. Let's see if this video works, and then I'll talk to you a little bit more about how we got started.
I've gone to my phone hotspot, and we'll see if that's better.
If that helps.
We'll find out.
Mine.
We had grown to over 140 singers in 4 separate ensembles. Singers come to sing with the Decatur Avondale Children's Choir from communities all over the greater Atlanta area, primarily, of course, Decatur and Avondale, Kirkwood, Oakhurst, etc., but really from all over the area, and we are so delighted to have them. The goal of the Decatur Avondale Children's Choir is to provide excellence in musical training, to expose singers to various musical styles, and to present high-quality musical performances. An outstanding experience that our boys and girls had was getting to go to Carnegie Hall in New York City. We were invited as the only treble choir to sing with Eric Whitaker in a performance of The Boy Who Laughed at Santa Claus in the fall of 2019. We took 73 singers with us to New York. It was a wonderful experience.
It was really fun going to Carnegie Hall, but it was a lot of work, but it was really worth it.
I've been here for 7 years and it's been amazing. We even got to go to Carnegie Hall. We got to perform with a famous composer. His name is Eric Whitaker, and it was just incredible.
The 2020 season offered lots of challenges for us to overcome. Of course, because of the pandemic, we had to adjust our normal operations. We were able to offer an online class of sight singing through Zoom for our students. And in the fall of 2020, we were able to have outside rehearsals, a shortened semester. The students had to wear masks the whole time and stay socially distanced. But our Ars Cantabile Ensemble ended up presenting 3 pieces for Christmas, and those are available on YouTube. We have been so honored to have many singers that have sung with us for many semesters, many years as part of the Decatur Avondale Children's Choir. Let's hear from some of them now.
I have been with the Avondale Children's Choir since I was 7, for 6 years. And Mr. Mark has really become family, and he's really helped my voice grow throughout the years.
I've been with this choir since I was 5 years old. Coming to rehearsal is always such a great experience, and I loved going to Carnegie Hall.
We've been in choir for 8 years. Choir's been a huge part of our friendship, and I love choir because I've gotten to meet so many amazing people. And I love our choir director, Mr. Mark, because he has shaped us in musical ways and in personal ways. And we've even gotten to go to Carnegie Hall thanks to choir.
For more information about how you can join the Decatur Avondale Children's Choir, see the information listed on your screen. And also, if you would like to view some other videos of our concert performances, that information is there for you as well. So the idea for the Decatur Avondale Children's Choir really hit me out of the blue. You've got to realize sort of the background of my church situation, diminishing numbers in both youth and children's music, Jubilate, and having been a part of that since 1994. Well, it was in May of 2009. I remember it very distinctly. I had driven to Macon, Georgia to have lunch with my good friend Stanley Roberts. Y'all know Stanley Roberts, Director of Choral Activities at Mercer University. We had lunch at a Mexican restaurant and had a great time. We've been buds since seminary days. Talked about all kinds of things, talked about some Jubilate kinds of things. And on my way back to Atlanta, instead of listening to music like I usually do, I just didn't turn anything on, and I used the time to think. Maybe you've been graced with a time to think. And I talked out loud to myself all the way back to Atlanta. Now, I know you've done the same thing. The conversation was great, and I agreed with myself on just about every point. The deal was, on that 1.5-hour trip back from Macon to Atlanta, the whole concept of the Decatur Avondale, what is now the Decatur Avondale Children's Choir, came to me. I knew what our name needed to be at the time, the Avondale Children's Choir. I knew we wanted to audition the singers for it. I knew it wanted to be a community choir. I knew I needed to advertise in the area to get it out. I knew we needed a really killer logo. I knew we needed to hire an accompanist. I knew we needed to charge a tuition. I knew we needed to have 2 semesters each year, a fall semester that would culminate in and Clark used the same word, we called it a Christmas and holiday concert, and a spring semester. I knew we wanted to branch out. Avondale and Decatur, that area of Atlanta, East Atlanta, is an arts-rich area. Families are very interested in the performing arts. They are not going to church by and large. Probably in our area, less than 10% are active, involved in a church. But a community choir that you have to audition for, pay tuition for, that's going to sing sacred and secular music. You'll notice in one of the sheets I gave you a list just of the last 4 years of some of the pieces that we've done. You'll notice that there's sacred and secular on there. There's classical all the way to Broadway show tunes and about everything in between. Some of the schools in our area do not allow their choirs to sing sacred music. But we can, of course. We're a community choir. We can do whatever we want. And, like Clark and Karen were sharing, we have them sing at least once a semester in a Sunday morning worship service there at our church. And their concerts are done at our church as well. So these kids are getting a high-quality performing arts education with an ordained minister within the walls of a church, singing sacred songs and performing in the church sanctuary. Now, my definition on evangelism is not winning somebody to Christ. My definition of evangelism is moving them one step closer to a real relationship with Christ. And if these families are not going to church, may call themselves nuns, you may have heard of that. It's not Catholic nuns, but nuns that don't claim any kind of religion. If I can give them a positive, first-rate experience in the performing arts within the walls of the church with an ordained director, singing high-quality sacred music, and doing it well, maybe, just maybe, their experience and their family's experience with organized religion, with the Christian faith, will be a step closer in a positive direction. I feel like I will have done my work, whether they ever join the church or not. Another component of it was that we teach music to these kids from a very, very, very young age. You've been sitting a while. Stand up. I want you to do, I didn't realize at first that you can't do this with first through third graders, but I teach this to first through third graders. Let's do a major scale, a minor scale, and a chromatic scale using solfege. and the Kerwin hand signs the whole time, okay? I didn't realize you couldn't do this with first through third grade. Let's do it in this key. Ready? Do, re, mi. Ready? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. Now we're going to walk down to la. Do, ti, la to la, ti, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, so, fa, mi, re, do, ti, la. Back up to do, la, ti, high do, do. Now the chromatic. Do, di, re, mi, fa, fi, so, si, la, li, ti, do, ti, te, la, le, so, se, fa, mi, me, re, ra, do. Good job. Have a seat. Repeat after me. We teach them arpeggios, and I usually just make these up. So let's see if I can make one up today. Do, mi, so, mi, do. Do, mi, so, mi, do. Re, fa, la, fa, re. Re, fa, la, fa, re. Ti, re, fa, re, ti. Do, so, do. Do, la, so. So, ti, do. We'll go all over the place. And sometimes I will use passages out of some of the songs, some of the intervals from some of the songs in the warm-ups. The kids love it. They catch on to it quick. We even teach our first through third graders, fourth through sixth graders, and our youth ages. We have, at our biggest, we had 4 ensembles. Apprentice choir was first through third grades, 6, 7, and 8-year-olds. Advanced choir, all of this is in your brochure. Advanced choir was 4th through 6th grades, 9, 10s, and 11s. Ars Cantabile is our youth age group, and they have to pass a more rigorous audition for that. Their audition includes singing a song of their own choosing a cappella, tonal memory, which is actually passages pulled from actual anthem literature that we're going to do. They have to do their major, minor, chromatic scales a cappella on their own and hold pitch. And then they have to do sight reading, a 4-measure sight reading example that starts and ends and begins on do. So they have to pass that to get into Ars Cantabile. And then we even had, just before the pandemic, what was called the chamber singers. And there's really 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. And they were a smaller ensemble. They did some really, really high quality music. So we teach all of these how to sight read. We teach all of these, all of those scales. We teach all of these about music reading ability all the way through, growing them as musicians so that they can better perform and just sensitizing them to the arts. We choose high quality music and we do it to the very, very best of our resources. Doing excellence, and I gave you a whole sheet on excellence, and we send that out as a PDF just before our concert performances, about a week or so ahead every time. It tells them from the minute they walk in that room, they're basically on. People are going to see how excellent they are even by how they walk into the room and how they walk up onto the stage and how they look while they're on stage and how they watch the director, in addition, of course, to how they sound and how they sing. Through the years, we started out with only 27 singers that very first fall. We grew to about 36 the second semester. We grew to about 60 the third semester. Through the years, it grew and grew and grew. Prior to the pandemic, we had 140 singers in 4 ensembles. And that was the fall that we went to Carnegie Hall. We got invited to sing with Eric Whitaker in the debut performance of The Boy Who Laughed at Santa Claus. It includes a treble choir backed up by SATB choir. We were the only treble choir invited to sing, and our kids had a blast. Then, of course, boom, the pandemic hit. We try to stress inclusivity in all that we do. That's an important ingredient in our area. Our board adopted, we are governed by a board, and by the way, recently, just this past year, we have become our own 501c3 nonprofit, which helps us actually with gathering funding and grants possibly in our area. So that's a very important ingredient as well. But inclusivity is very, very important. And I think you'll see an inclusivity statement on the guiding principles. Our board adopted that, and it's very important for us to have that. I'd love to tell you more. I know we're out of time, but thank you for listening to us about the Decatur Avondale Children's Choir. If any of these models, what Clark and Karen shared or what I have shared, strikes a chord, no pun intended, with you, and you want to know more about it, we'll be around at supper. We have a round table tomorrow, and we'd love to talk with you more about it and talk to you about some of the details, some of the inner working about how we do what we do. It's a very successful model for the church branching out beyond its walls into the community and using arts as the way to touch lives, change lives, and enhance lives. Thank you for listening.